What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Juicy Jet Podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Rooney, and I'm excited because we got not a ton of things going on, but I got some stuff that I want to talk about today regarding the Jets, the NFL. Let me actually take you through the agenda because there's a good amount. While it's like a very quiet time in the NFL, there's still stuff to talk about. The NFL just never sleeps. So the things I do want to go through today, I've got a trivia question, of course, to get us kicked off. We're going to go through some Jets updates to their special teams, OTA schedule coming up. We got some number changes to talk about. And then for some reason, there's a lot going on in the NFL, so I'll share just a very high-level NFL news that's happening just in case y'all missed it. Then go into our classic gym break, talk about the Jets, Islanders, Mets, and Silent K Knicks. And then we'll finally just go into the last thing I have today. A couple episodes ago, we did the Mount Rushmore of New York Jets. So now we're going to do the opposite. We're going to do the Mount Flushmore, the 4 worst, least favorite people on the New York Jets that I absolutely hate. And, I'll tell you how much I hate them as we go through and the reasons why. So let's get it kicked off. We'll start off with a trivia question. So there were a lot of contract extensions in the NFL this week. So it got me thinking, who is the New York Jets' highest paid player in 2025? So that's how simple the question is. Based on their cap number in 2025, who is the New York Jets' highest paid player? I think this is an easy one, but we'll let you guys decide. So I will answer that trivia question at the end, but let's go into Jets news. So even though quiet time of year, still a lot going on, and I think the big thing is the Jets have absolutely decimated their special teams. We talked last week about one of my faves, Thomas Morstead. And I think the reason we love Thomas Morstead is because, one, he had a great year his first year back as a Jet. He was previously a Jet, went to Miami, comes back to the Jets for 2 years. And he was really good when he came back. And I think it was because we hated Braden Mann so much that we wanted to get rid of him. And of course, Braden Mann goes off, plays for the Eagles, wins the Super Bowl this year. So that's how this all works, I guess. But Thomas Morstead was 39, 38, something like that. Saved us $2.5 million. So, of course, we're getting young. Was the reason to do it. Then this week, we find out that the Jets cut our kicker, Greg the Leg Zuerlein. So, Greg Zuerlein comes over to us he bounced around a little bit. I think he was on the Cowboys, on the Rams. Comes to us and plays outstanding. He was great his first few years as the Jets kicker, and he actually won us some games in 2023, which we really needed when Aaron Rodgers went down. So, it was really cool to have a kicker that can actually help us. But last year, he was just awful, and there wasn't a lot we could do about it. He was 9 for 15 on field goals, and he lost us probably 3 games. Now, of course, it's up to the rest of the team to get us in position to actually win the games, but it was really Rodgers and him were the 2 guys that we were counting on with 2 minutes left in the game. Are we going to win or are we not? And both Rodgers and Greg Zuerlein could not pull through at the end of some of these games, so especially you think about that Denver game. Well, it's a brutal, brutal loss. I think Bo Nix had like 60 yards passing total or something like that in that game. And Greg Zuerlein misses a kick at the end for us to lose. So there was multiple of those throughout the season. And it was time. Like halfway through the year, he got the dreaded phantom IR, where it's really a player's just not playing well. And they just say he's got a hamstring injury. They put him on IR and we never see him again. And that's kind of what happened. So cutting Greg Zuerlein is going to save us $2.4 million in salary cap, but also a $2.3 million dead charge to the team. So we've saved about $5 million with both Greg the Leg and Thomas Morstead being cut. Now, we really don't have like an outstanding backup plan for kicker. We've got Anders Carlson, who was our kicker for a little bit of last year. He's the really big kicker. He's like 6'5", 220. He played okay, but I wouldn't say he's like, amazing kicker. And then we also have a rookie, Caden Davis, who there was nothing special about him as I was, doing research on who he was when we signed him leading up or signed him after the draft. So that's the special teams news. We'll see what we do with 2 young kicker and a young punter. But like I said, I imagine we're going to be kicking a lot of field goals and punting a lot, because we always struggle in the red zone. We'll see if that changes with Tanner Engstrand as our offensive coordinator. But, that's where we're at this point. So goodbye to two probably forgettable players in Jets history, Thomas Morstead and Greg Zuerlein. All right, up next, what I've got is just an update on where the Jets are at right now. So we got an interesting schedule coming up here for the New York Jets starting tomorrow. So today's the 19th. So tomorrow is a 3-day session of organized team activities, or otherwise known as OTAs, for the Jets. So they practice from the 20th to the 22nd. And this is where they really just like put together installing their offense, installing their defense. You build chemistry, you get people running around, you can get that endurance built up, all that kind of stuff. So that's from the 20th to the 22nd. They come back for a second round of it from the 28th to the 30th, and then a third round of it from June 2nd to June 5th. These are voluntary, so technically people cannot show up, but I'm pretty sure the Jets have had pretty good attendance so far in the earlier sessions that we've had. So I imagine most of the team will be there unless there's some outstanding circumstance. And then finally, after that, there is a mandatory practice session that is mandatory minicamp from June 10th to 12th. This is really just starting to prep for the season. Usually you get about 95+% participation in mandatory minicamp. So I expect the Jets to be close to 100. So that's where we're at in terms of the Jets' schedule coming up. I'm sure we're going to hear a lot of them speaking to the media, things like that. So I'm sure we'll get some quotes. And then after that June 10th to 12th session, that's it. They are off for most of the summer, so it's most of June, most of July, and they're probably going to come back. We'll get the training camp schedule coming soon, but they'll probably come back, let's say July 29th or something like that, to start training camp, which is really when we amp up the real football stuff. So very exciting that that's all coming down the pipe here. Football is it's kind of in the air a little bit. Like you can kind of feel it, then we're going to take a little break, and then it's going to come right back. Last thing I wanted to update, I think this is the last thing Jets related that I wanted to update on. We had some number changes. This is, once again, when it's like the downtime and there's not a lot going on and the Jets are trying to be super quiet, we talk about number changes. So if you look behind me, I've got some of them listed here. Malachi Corley goes to take Thomas Morstead's number, Mark Sanchez's old number, number 6. Remember, Malachi Corley was number 17 last year. Then we traded for Devontae Adams, so he had to give up 17, became 14, and now he's 6. I don't care about actual numbers that these players wear right now. But when I see them on the field, I'll be like, wow, that was cool. That was a good decision. Who else we got? We got Xavier Gibson moving from the 80s down to number 3. So he'll be single digits, which is good. He's like fast. He goes from 82 to 3. I think that's a good number for a speedy guy. And the one that I'm very excited about, because once again, I don't care about numbers, but when I thought about this guy being number 99, and that's Will McDonald, wearing one of the widest numbers in football when he's one of the skinniest dudes, to now wearing my favorite number, number 9, I think he's going to look good screaming off that edge. Remember, he had 10 sacks last year, so we're hoping for a big year from Will McDonald, especially as we wait for Jermaine Johnson to get back up to speed. So, yeah, I guess that's the exciting news. We got 3 number changes across the team. And for those of you who are older Jets fans out there, no, because Will McDonald changed to number 9 from 99 does not mean they will be retiring Mark Gastineau's number. They will just give it to someone else. That's how it goes. So that's a little bit about the Jets. Now let's go into some NFL news, and maybe I'll think of other things about the Jets as we go. But the big thing here is upcoming this week is the spring owners meetings. So this is going to be big just because they vote on some of the rules that they're going to put into place. So the 2 big things to look out for that are probably going to pop up is, number 1, we have the tush push being put under scrutiny. So the Green Bay Packers, I think, were the ones that requested we ban the tush push. I think what they're really trying to ban is having someone stand behind a player and push them forward at the snap, which essentially is the tush push. So my personal opinion is they should not ban this rule. If you are really, really good at something, that doesn't mean we just ban it. They came up with something awesome that other teams can't do. They should be able to do it all they want. If you want to stop it, figure out a way to stop it. So I don't think the tush push should be banned, but it sounds like they may have some support. We'll see what happens tomorrow. It's going to be really interesting. The second thing is they are talking about redoing the playoff seeding rules. Now, for me, I don't really care that much about this because we're never in the playoffs, so it doesn't really matter. And if we were, we'd probably be the last seed. So really, we'd be sneaking in. So it's not a huge deal to the Jets because we don't win divisions. We're never fighting for a top seed. None of that ever happens to us. We are lucky to be a wild card if we ever get there. And once again, 14 years. So they could have changed this rule 14 times over the last 14 years, and I wouldn't have noticed because we're never there. But what they're trying to do is get rid of the idea that the top 4 seeds are the division winners. What they're trying to do is say, what you can finish at any seed depending on where your record is. So technically, if the Bills win the Jets division and the Jets come in second, they could be the top 2 seeds if every other team has a worse record that's fighting for the playoffs. For me, I don't like this at all. The reason I don't like it is because it takes away what matters, which is winning your division. It takes away the rivalry that you're going to have with the other teams in your division, and it just takes away the importance of what that means and what those division games mean. Now, of course, you can argue that, yeah, you still got to beat your division because it's going to help you, have the top record and all that kind of stuff as you get into seeding. But I don't know. I just feel like it's not going to matter that you win the division anymore. So, and then I think after round 1, they'll reseed. So technically, the 1 seed will always play the lowest seed no matter where they are. I think I'm fine with that, but it depends on what it means to be the lowest seed. Does that mean you are a division winner that just had the lowest record, or are you actually the 3rd wildcard team that didn't win their division? So I would prefer that if you wanted to reseed, but it was based off of the 4 division winners being seeds 1 through 4, and then the last 3 being wildcard teams. So we'll see how this all goes. But it's going to be interesting. I think Roger Goodell's got a lot of support behind him. I don't think he likes the tush push. I don't think he likes the way we're seeding. He likes to change things up just to cause controversy. And, we'll see how it goes. The last thing in the NFL is we had some contract updates. We had some extensions. So Fred Warner becomes the highest paid linebacker. I think he's the best linebacker in football. 3 years, $63 million. Highest paid off-ball linebacker in NFL history. He is amazing. When I watched him play the Jets last year in week 1, he was all over the field. This guy was chasing Breece Hall down from one side of the field to the other, and it was unbelievable. He hits hard, and he seems like a great leader. Like, I've never heard a bad thing about him. So good for Fred Warner. He deserves it. The 49ers also make another big extension to their quarterback, Brock Purdy. 5 years, $265 million. That's $53 million per year. And the biggest piece of this is there's a no-trade clause. So even though he was the last pick in the NFL draft, what was that, 3 years ago? He can't be traded, so they need to, unless he gives them permission. So that's 5 years of Brock Purdy in San Francisco. I think it's a good move because that $53 million a year is going to become cheap 5 years from now. So good for the Niners locking up 2 of their guys. And then the big one, this one's crazy. Derrick Henry agreed to a 2-year, $30 million extension with the Ravens. He's like 31 years old. He is defying all laws of running backs by continuing to play and play really well. He had an unbelievable year last year, which we thought he would, but not that great with a guy like Lamar Jackson. So good for Derrick Henry. Once again, another guy works his butt off. He's massive. I heard about his diet, like the crazy stuff he goes through to keep his body healthy is insane. And never heard a bad thing about him. So good for Derrick Henry getting another big contract, and this time with the Baltimore Ravens. So what these all make me think is that we are in the season of extensions. So I imagine before training camp is my guess, my prediction, one of Garrett Wilson or Sauce Gardner gets extended. We got the money now, time to spend it. I think Garrett's the more difficult one because he's not the number 1 receiver in the NFL. He's probably in the top 15, so it's how do you pay him? Because he's probably going to say, I'm the 6th best receiver. The Jets are probably going to say, you're the 12th best receiver. How much money do you give him? And then where do you meet in the middle? So that'll be interesting. Sauce is the easiest one. Just pay him more than the last person because you are the top 5 corners will always just rotate who gets paid the most, and he's up there. Sure, he didn't have the best year of his life last year, but he is worthy of top cornerback money. So those are the big things going on in the NFL. Trying to think if there's anything else that I'm missing out on. No, I think that's it. We'll come back if there's any big news or anything like that. We can always talk about it on the next episode. All right, I'm going to do a quick gym break here. We'll start off with the more solemn note, and then we'll get into the good stuff. The Mets had a rough series against the Yankees. Go down. They won one game. The Yankees won two. Offense just went quiet a little bit. The game they won was a great game. It was awesome. I really thought they were going to win that second game too or the third game until they gave up a grand slam towards the end. But we kind of felt it was over by the time that grand slam happened. So, yeah, just a rough series against the Yankees. And Juan Soto did not step up in a very high pressure, high stress moment for him, which, doesn't sit great with any Mets fan. But I think if you are one of those people out there that's really worried about Juan Soto, I think you just remember back to what happened to Francisco Lindor when he first got here. I think there were so many moments of, is this guy worth what we paid for him? And he's been everything and more in terms of what he's been worth. So I think you just wait it out. It's a long season. We'll see how it goes. Sucks to lose to the Yankees, but I'd rather see how far we go in the playoffs and hopefully win a championship. So we'll see what happens with the Mets. And they just lost right before this to the Red Sox too. So it's just been a rough little slump, but that's what happens when you're on a tear like the Mets have been over the beginning of the season. All right, let's talk about the fun one. The New York Knicks are headed to the Eastern Conference Finals. I am in shock. This team just, I don't know what happened. They just won by 50 in the last game against the Celtics. Great to beat Boston. Love beating Boston. Doesn't happen often, so it's really nice in any sport to beat them. So I thought it was great. I was in New York City at a bar for the end of the game. What was that, on Friday night? Yeah, Friday night. New York City was wild. The bar was packed. People were going nuts. This is the one team that can bring New York City together because everyone's a Knicks fan. The Nets have always been kind of Jersey, so they don't really fit the New York City vibe. And you saw it. After the game, people were going wild in the streets like we won a war or something. I don't know. It was bananas. People climbing on top of lamp poles, and I saw there was one guy sitting on top of this huge TV display outside, which was a legendary photo now. It was wild. I can't imagine what's going to happen if the Knicks move on to the finals. So, great job of the Knicks. I can't wait to watch them play Indiana on Wednesday. I, in my entire lifetime, never had a team that I like win a championship, so it'd be very interesting. Basketball is my fourth favorite sport, so it would be interesting to see if the Knicks become the first team to actually win one. But man, I'd be there for the parade, that's for sure. So that was the New York Knicks. We'll keep rooting for them. It's very exciting, and hopefully we can keep stepping up here over the next this next series coming up. And Indiana is no walk in the park. They were good last year. They're better this year, so we'll see how that goes. All right. Now let's dive into my last thing. Actually, before I do that, I got to talk to you about this one fantasy team I got going on here. So I play fantasy football. I love fantasy football. I'm usually in 10 leagues a year because it's probably one of the few things that I think I'm really, really good at. And I'm in this league that's drafting right now. So it's a dynasty league, but it has 32 teams in it. So it's like you're managing a real football team. It's got defensive players, offensive players, everything like that. Obviously, I'm the New York Jets. What that means is I automatically get whoever the Jets quarterbacks are. So I have Justin Fields, Tyrod Taylor, no matter what. If Tyrod Taylor and Justin Fields get cut tomorrow, I'll get whoever they pick up automatically. I also get the Jets defense, meaning the actual Jets defense as a player. And then I get the Jets kicker, so whoever the kicker is. You start as many quarterbacks as you want, just in case, if Justin Fields gets hurt, you're still going to get Tyrod Taylor points. And then everything else is just drafted and traded players like you normally would in fantasy. And my team is very good. And every year I'm down to the final four in this 32-team league, and I can't win it. So I'm hoping this is the year because Justin Fields is going to get me a lot of rushing yards. But listen to this squad. So I've got, remember, 32-team league. So I'm drafting like a regular NFL draft every single year when I do this. So we got Obviously, Justin Fields, Tyrod Taylor, James Cook, Isaac Guerrero, Jordan Addison, Deebo Samuel, Tim Patrick, Jawan Johnson, Tyreek Hill, Christian Watson, the Jets defense, Braden Fisk, Marshawn Nealon, Trenton Simpson, Roquan Smith, that's a great one, Javon Holland, A.J. Terrell, Sean Murphy-Bunting, Kyle Van Noy, Christian Benford. Bench is not looking too hot. We got Tyler Boyd, Dawson Knox. For you Jets fans, Michael Clemens, Kingsley Ingbanare, Jalen Phillips, hopefully he comes back healthy. Drew Sanders on the Broncos. Going to be on a great defense this year. Let's see who else. Kaiir Elam, Tony Adams from the Jets, Arik Armstead, Derek Hall from the Seahawks. Anyone else? Greg Newsome from the Browns. Dang, how do I not have him in my starting lineup? And then I got a taxi squad, which is basically like your practice squad. It's folks that are in their first 1 or 2 years. What I normally do here is pick as many of the young Jets as possible, because knowing the Jets, they're going to be bad by the end of the year, which means their young players are going to start playing. And by the end of the year, you really just need volume of people who are going to get points, not just like the greatest players that ever lived. So I've got Ronnie Bell, the wide receiver from originally the Niners. Now I think he's on Detroit. Then I got Malachi Corley, Quantez Stiggers, Leonard Taylor, Eric Watts, Bam Knight, and Izzy Abanikanda. So a bunch of former Jets on there and current Jets. So now I'm up in the draft. I'm the next person up here, so I might be up while we're actually on this podcast. So once again, I'm pick number 29 in a 32-team league. So I got Bashal Tutin, the running back from the Jaguars in round 1, which is rough that I had to take him with my first pick. I got Jarquez Hunter, the running back from the Rams, with my second pick, and I am 1 pick away from being up again in the 3rd round. Now, the way we do this draft is you get like 18 hours to make a pick, so this draft's been going on for 3 weeks, and we're only in the 3rd round. But my next pick, what I'm looking for, and I don't think anybody from my league is listening to this or will be, so I'm going to say it anyway. There's really only like 2 players on offense left that like can actually get points over the next 2 years. So, well, I don't know if the rest of the league knows that, but that's what I think. So I'm going to go with Keandre Lambert-Smith, wide receiver from the Los Angeles Chargers. The only reason I think he's a good possibility is because I thought he was actually pretty good with, I think he's from Auburn. Yeah, with Auburn. That wide receiver room, I don't know if, well, at least I highly doubt that some of those wide receivers come back. Mike Williams sounds like a 1-year deal. Like, he's probably not going to come back after this year unless he plays amazing. And then Quentin Johnston. I don't think they've been impressed with him. That's why they keep drafting receivers. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens, but I think he can step up, Keandre Lambert-Smith. If, you got Ladd McConkey, you got Trey Harris, and then you see what happens. And you got a couple tight ends, and maybe he can make a little roll out of himself. And Mike Williams is going to get hurt at some point. Quentin Johnston may get hurt at some point. And then you got a good quarterback. So he's going to be my next pick if he makes it to me. So I just got to pray this guy does not listen to the Juicy Jet podcast that's ahead of me and doesn't pick him, because that would really suck. So that is my fun fantasy league, and I'm very excited. I have another draft coming up in like 9 days for Dynasty. Once again, if you don't know what Dynasty is, you don't like draft a new team every year. You just keep the same team you have. You only draft rookies. So very excited. I love it. I can't wait to tell you about this team I have in my other league, because it's just unbelievable. But we'll save that for another day. All right, last thing I want to do, because we are at 20-something minutes already, is my Mount Flushmore of New York Jets, my least favorite Jets probably ever. The funny part is all of these are from the last 20 years, so there's none that go back that far. Number 1, this is my most hated person in New York Jets history. I don't think it's even a competition for this one. Absolutely enemy number 1. Hated it from the moment. I hated him before he came to the Jets, and that's the problem. So my number 1 most hated person, Adam Gase. Head coach for 2 years, 2019 and 2020. Just awful, awful, awful hire. I cannot believe it. So Adam Gase was previously the head coach of the Miami Dolphins, which is why we knew him so well. And I knew I didn't like him, because I never saw anything out of the Miami Dolphins that got me excited. And the only reason, well, one of the reasons why we hired him, number 1, Woody Johnson was gone. So I don't know how much he was actually a part of the hiring process, because he was the ambassador to the UK during the first Trump administration. So his brother Christopher was running the whole operation here. And Christopher gets a call from Peyton Manning. And Peyton Manning, who has just been torturing us for years. When he didn't want to come to the Jets when he, was in college, stayed another year. He used to beat us all the time, except for that one 40-0 or whatever it was playoff game we played against him. Beat us in the AFC Championship game with Rex. I'm so tired of Peyton Manning. He calls Christopher Johnson and says, I highly recommend Adam Gase. He's a forward-thinking offensive mind and an offensive strategist. And what do we get? We got nothing. First year, we started 1-7 in 2019, but somehow finished 7-9. We won what? We went 6-2 to finish the year, and we had Sam Darnold. It was like his first or second year or something like that. And he had mono to start the year, which killed us. And everyone was like, oh, let's keep Adam Gase, even though I wanted to fire him after the first year. But because we finished strong, everyone was like, let's keep him. Then in 2020, we started off 0-13. Just an absolute disaster. This was the year, 2020 was the year where I was actively rooting for them to lose. I don't think I've done that in a really long time. Actively rooted for them to lose every single game. And the reason why I was rooting so hard for them to lose is because Trevor Lawrence was in the upcoming draft. So if we're going to be this bad, we better get the first pick. And we didn't get the first pick because we're playing... Oh my God, this is what it was. We were playing the Rams. The Rams were a really good team. And we punt the ball back to the Rams so they can go down the field and score. And on this punt, they're getting a big return. And what happens? Our punter, Braden Mann, the guy we were talking about earlier, makes a game-saving tackle to stop whoever it was returning the punt from going into the end zone. If he just went into the end zone, we get the number one pick, we get Trevor Lawrence. Now, looking back, maybe Trevor Lawrence, or looking up to today, maybe Trevor Lawrence isn't what we thought. But he's way better than all the stuff we've gone through with Zach Wilson and Aaron Rodgers, and now we'll see what Justin Fields looks like. But because we have no stability at quarterback. So we finished 2-14. I will never forget this one game. We're playing the Raiders. We are somehow winning with 14 seconds left. Greg Williams on a Hail Mary play. Greg Williams was defensive coordinator. Calls an all-out blitz. And then our cornerback named Lamar Jackson lets Henry Ruggs, who's now a murderer in prison, score on a Hail Mary, essentially a Hail Mary, and win the game. I was so happy that we lost because I was like, we're still going to get Trevor, and it didn't work out. And I think the thing Adam Gase will always be remembered by is the googly-eyed press conference where he's just like looking around, has no idea what's going on. It was an absolute disaster. There's one thing you don't want to see from your leader of your team is him have googly eyes looking all over the place during his introductory press conference. Oh, God, what a disaster. I hate Adam Gase. I hope he's coaching some peewee football team in the middle of, I have no idea, middle of the USA. Or actually not even in the USA. I hope he's out of here. Oh, God, he was the worst. Set us back so far. All right, number 2 on my list. I'm going to go with Vernon Gholston. Vernon Gholston, I was in high school when this guy was drafted. He was drafted in 2008, 6th overall. He was supposed to be our big pass rusher. We got rid of John Abraham a few years before that. We hadn't had anybody live up to John Abraham since. And Gholston was supposed to be the guy. He played for 3 years with us. Rex Ryan Mangini drafted him. And then Rex Ryan said he was going to help him, and he moved his position a few times. He never had a sack with us. Crazy. Never registered a single sack. Guy was on the team for 3 years. He was our 6th overall pick to be a pass rusher. So, Vernon Gholston, absolutely hated him. I think he played with the Bears and the Rams afterward, but never played in any actual games. So yeah, Vernon Gholston's my number 2. Number 3. This guy didn't have as much of an impact as the first 2, but I just have to think about him all the time, which drives me nuts. Christian Hackenberg. So Christian Hackenberg, quarterback from Penn State, drafted in the 2nd round in 2016. He was supposed to be this developmental quarterback that was going to come save the day. This was Geno time. This was after Fitzpatrick. He's supposed to be the guy after Fitz. Never played in a single regular season game for us. Couldn't throw the ball. There were videos of him in training camp and stuff like that, just firing balls at reporters on the sideline because he couldn't hit the receivers. It was horrible. He ends up going to the Eagles. He goes to the Bengals. Never plays a game. Then he goes to the AAF, the Alliance of American Football. I think he plays a little bit of there. Then he tries to go play baseball as a pitcher. and now he's like coaching at a high school or something like that. So Christian Hackenberg, holy cow, another quarterback bust that doesn't make it for the New York Jets and didn't even play. So that's my number 3. Number 4, I had a tough time at number 4, but this one really hurts me. I don't know. I was kind of stuck with Hassan Reddick. I really hated that whole situation last year, but I didn't think he was enough of he wasn't a Jet, really. So I don't know. I didn't feel good about putting that one on here. So I think I got to go with Zach Wilson. Obviously, number 2 overall pick. Going to go down as one of the biggest busts of all time if he can't turn his career around. Maybe he can bounce around as a backup quarterback for the rest of his career. And he's on the Dolphins now, so we'll probably play against him this year. But, he had some flashes his first year. Like, there was some games. That Panthers game was the first game he ever played. We're like, okay, this guy could be something. That Titans game where he throws that bomb to Corey Davis where he points it out and throws it to him. But, he just wasn't good enough year 1. But we were going to let him learn. Year 2, he gets a knee injury in the preseason. Comes back, we have like a 4-game winning streak, and then he just falls off. And the big indictment was we played the New England Patriots. We lost like 10-6 or something like that. The offense was god-awful. We lost on a punt return for a touchdown. Offense was so bad. Held the defense back. Defense played unreal. Gave up like less than 100 yards of offense to the Patriots. And then after the game, he was asked by reporters, like, do you feel bad? Or did you apologize for your performance today to the defense? Do you feel bad that you let your team down? He just said no. So he didn't take accountability. His teammates didn't like him. That's when Mike White started to come in, and the teammates love Mike White. So Zach Wilson is my number 4 on the Mount Flushmore of New York Jets. I'm sure there were others that I'm missing that I could think about, but these guys just really stood out as ones that I did not like at all. All right, so that is it. That is the Juicy Jet podcast. But before we go, we got to answer a trivia question. So the question was, who, based on the cap hit this year, is the highest paid Jet for 2025? Actually a trick question. The highest cap hit for this year is quarterback Aaron Rodgers at $23.5 million. But the highest active player, the highest paid active player on the team, is who everyone would probably guess, Quinnen Williams, $21.6 million on the cap, and he needs to play better this year. So he's hopefully going to get some help this year with a better, coaching staff, better defense, and hopefully an offense that can actually score some points so that we're not always playing from behind. So, love Quinnen. All right, that is another episode of the Juicy Jet podcast. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Thank you for listening. Once again, you can follow me on TikTok, JuicyJet25. Follow me on Twitter at KevinRooney25. Next week, we are going to probably have a little Memorial Day guest. That's the plan for now. We'll see who the special guest is and if they can actually join. Otherwise, you'll just get me again. But I really appreciate it if you can like, subscribe, rate, review, comment on whatever you want. Love to interact with folks. And let me know if there's anything you want to see coming up too on the Juicy Jet podcast, because we're about to hit that period over the next 2 months. That's a little bit of downtime. So happy to do anything fun or anything like that. So thank you all for listening, and I will talk to y'all next week. See ya.